Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello to you and welcome back to the channel where you join me on the Porsche stand at the 2018 Paris Motor Show, where today we can take a first look at the Porsche 911 Speedster concept. So they've just announced that they will be putting the new Speedster into production. They're going to do a build run of 1,948 of them, and today at the unveiling, let's take a good look around the new car. Okay then, here it is, the new Porsche 911 Speedster concept. They've shown this second generation concept for the car and announced that it will be going into full production in 2019 in the first half of the year. As I mentioned, they're going to be building 1,948 of them, and that number represents 1948, the year the 356 behind was first registered. June the 8th of that year, the first time the Porsche badge was worn. It is of course based on the Porsche 911, the 991.2 generation, and I think in this case very much on the GT3. So details are few and far between at this stage, but we can take a good look at the design and the car that is in front of us with a few signature design features. There's no roof on it, there's a top that you can temporarily install, but it's based around that double bubble rear deck lid design. The lower sections akin to the GT3, for example, the dual exit centre pipes at the back. This wheel design, I have to say, looks very good. The centre lock wheels that it's wearing, it's also sitting quite low. Of course, from a design perspective, you have this protection padding area on the arches, the wide rear arches, akin to the Carrera 4 GTS, but this car being rear wheel drive, manual gearbox to go with that. As it spins around towards the front, there are a couple of design elements that are completely unique to the car. So in the lower sections you have the GT3 style lower bumper, but when you come to the upper areas, a lot of the bodywork is carbon fibre, including the bonnet, where you have the centre fuel cap, reminiscent of the cars of old, and also notice the door mirrors, a nice styling design that you have to those, again reminiscent of cars from the past. This car is presented in Guards Red, a colour we've seen before on many models, but also on the 1988 Speedster. And if we just come through to have a slightly better look at the interior, you'll notice in here, again reminiscent of the GT3, like the GT3 Touring, you have the 6-speed manual gearbox, also available in the fully winged GT3, but inside a small sporty steering wheel you've got carbon fibre trim, you have the fixed carbon fibre bucket seats like the Porsche 918 Spider. That's where they were introduced, and since then we've seen them on the likes of the GT3s, GT3 RSs, the GT2 RSs, but you have the Speedster embroidery here. You can see this window part that's installed presumably to help with wind deflection and airflow through the car, where you'll get the chassis number written. This is number 000 from the factory with that graphic too, and then some quite intricate design actually with the carbon fibre through the centre of those rear deck lids. Also noticing from this angle you have the cooling that comes through towards that engine at the back. Now there are no full details at this stage about what engine will be back here, rear-engined of course being a 911, but I think we can potentially assume it might be that taken from the 911 GT3, which is a 4-litre flat 6, making 500 horsepower and 460 Newton meters of torque in total. Of course, a car that's designed very much for driving emotion, and as you might know if you're a regular follower of my channel, I previously owned a 991.2 GT3, so the car I think that this is very much heavily based on. Other parts of the design that have changed: the windscreen is lower, the side windows, which are down at the moment, are also lower than they are in the regular convertible version, because of course the 911 range is vast, from the Carrera, Carrera S, Carrera 4, the Turbo S, GT3, GT3 RS, GT2 RS, but also the different body styles, the regular coupe, the cabriolet, and the Targa roof. So the Targa with the folding glass top towards the back, whereas in this case, no roof at all with the Speedster. In fact, at the various different generations, they have made Speedsters before now. With one of the older cars actually alongside us right here that also demonstrates that double bubbled rear canopy at the back too. But this has been, well, awaited for a while, and since they showed the first concept, I think it pretty much sent everybody fairly wild about what it was going to be like when it did eventually arrive. And we'll have to see what changes can make it through to production. For example, whether it will be possible to maintain these door mirrors and to bring those into the final production car on its arrival. They are really cool, the way they're open through the mirror arm. round circular mirrors, something you just don't see on a car of this era anymore. And then also the fuel cap in the center at the front. Traditionally the Porsche fuel cap would be located towards the front right, just on this fender panel here, which I believe also carbon fiber for the fenders. It's a very good looking thing, especially in Guards Red. Massive shout out to that colour. So of course Porsche started way back, the 356A 1600 Super Speedster, 1948. This is a beautiful thing, isn't it amazing? To go from this, yet still retain many of the same characteristics and design. Actually, when you look at the two cars, you consider it, the way they're shaped, the round lights for example, the curves and swoops over the body, this bubble over the back with the rear engine, the Porsche signature trait. And presumably this is going to be a very fun car to drive if given the opportunity to do so. Anyway, here on the stand, you might notice over that away is a fairly spectacular lineup. So let's say farewell to the Speedster for the moment and go and check it out. From the 356 then back in 1948 to the new Speedster now 2018, 70 years on. Of course that means it's a pretty significant and special anniversary for Porsche, hence this lineup in front of me with 4 of their most special cars ever. They're 4, I think we could say, hypercars, starting with the 959, then the 911 GT1, then the Carrera GT, and at the end the 918 Spider. Now to me, these are truly 4 of the greatest. I would say my era of Porsches, not necessarily 911s, well, one 911 GT1, but a Le Mans racer, a little bit different. But it starts back here with the 959, not too many of those even built, a 200 mph capable car, something well ahead of its time. And to be honest, you see them incredibly rarely, and to see all 4 of these together right now is breathtaking. So we come through from the 959. These cars are from the Porsche Museum, whose collection I've explored before, an incredible place as well to go and see, to the 911 GT1. Now the GT1 was introduced to go racing at Le Mans back in the late 90s. They made a very small run of road homologated cars. This is a road car that is quite literally like a Le Mans racer. Look at the wing at the rear, look at how long that rear section is behind the rear axle. The scoop on the roof, the vents, the louvres, the shape, the design. You see hints of the 996 style from the headlights that curve round towards the front bumper, but pure race car that somehow is legal to drive out and about on the road. Not quite sure how that was ever possible. We're entering back towards a time like that actually now with some of the cars that are arriving on the scene. Then next we have the Porsche Carrera GT, over 1,000 of them made in total with the naturally aspirated V10, the manual gearbox, the roof panels that can be stowed away in the front bonnet, an iconic car, a very flat rear end, the spoiler that rises at speed. I think it doesn't need much introduction really. I place this as my second favourite car ever that I've driven, as it happens, Carrera GT. Absolutely love it. And then finally we have the technological tour de force that is the Porsche 918 Spider. It combined the 4.8 litre V8 with a hybrid system for around 900 horsepower. Like the Carrera GT, you could remove the Targa roof panels, stick them in the front. You might even remember a video we did with that way back when. And this was really the most usable of the hybrid trio at the time. Top speed well in excess of 200 miles per hour, 0 to 60 miles per hour or so though, blisteringly fast. One of the fastest things ever, thanks to the 4-wheel drive system, very cleverly working with that hybrid tech. And to be honest, I think this has really evolved. At the time it launched, people were a bit confused and didn't necessarily know what they were looking at, and out of the 3 cars at the time, the McLaren P1, the Ferrari LaFerrari, this was the underdog, but then it went to set a 6-minute 57 seconds time at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and everyone kind of turned around and said, wait a second, this is something. And these are the seats, by the way, that were launched with this car that are now in the new Speedster. And this paintwork, the liquid silver, was roughly 60,000 euros or so, maybe even a touch more, to have it painted like this. And well, doesn't it look fantastic? Still, that distinct styling for the lights again, as you see in the Speedster now, with the 4 sub-lights within. So that as a lineup is, well, really and truly something special to celebrate Porsche's 70th anniversary. Lastly, but by no means the least, we have a new updated Porsche Macan. There's been a few bits and pieces they've reworked, the front bumpers, the rear bumpers, some of the interior components, the PCM system, kind of midlife refresh really to their popular small size SUV, which come around towards the back. Take a little look at this car, and the very, very bright, I believe, Miami blue on it at the moment. The Macan, I'm not actually sure if I've ever driven one. Certainly should at some point. Anyway, pretty good turnout and lineup from Porsche at the Paris Motor Show. I shall leave you then here with a last glance at the Speedster, the car that we came to see, launched by Porsche at the Paris Motor Show, making its world debut, its global premiere, the 911 Speedster, still in concept form, so it does remain to be seen when it makes it into production, if it continues to keep hold of the features like the center fuel filler cap and those door mirrors, or whether they'll have to be changed for some more conventional items. Now, it's the heritage link that the car's been launched in Guards Red, a colour that's available across the Porsche range pretty much, but I think under the very bright and incredibly harsh lights that you have here, it can be quite overwhelming, particularly around the rear sections of the car. Looking at the side of it, one detail that I didn't really touch on so far, if we focus in towards those buttresses, behind the headrests, you can see the Speedster name badge that's worn on the satin black sections right there. Again, a nice touch from the past. And I also particularly like that wheel design. I think that is a fantastic style. Looks really, really good. But there we have it. We will await the full production car in due course, but for now, it's a very exciting time, and no doubt the almost 2,000 of these are going to be snapped up very, very quickly by customers from around the world. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this first look at the new 911 Speedster and at some of the other pretty special cars Porsche had on show at their stand here in Paris. So thank you very much for watching again, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Cheers!